What if the reason you keep going back to a relationship, back to the way things were, or doing it hard, back to poverty, back to that weight, back to not being enough, back to overgiving, whatever it is for you? What if the reason isn't weakness? What if it's biology? What if the reason you miss the person who hurt you, the reason you self-sabotage, the reason you recreate the same patterns over and over and over is because your body is addicted to what it knows? Even if what it knows is chaos, betrayal, pain, or trauma. Your nervous system doesn't choose what's healthy, it chooses what's familiar. And that right there is why change feels so terrifying. Because when you choose growth, when you choose boundaries, when you choose peace, your body reads it as danger. So today we're going to talk about the hidden dangers of familiarity, why trauma bonds feel like love, why change feels unsafe, and how to retrain your nervous system so it can finally accept the life that you say that you want. If you've ever wondered, why do I keep going back? This is going to explain everything. So hey beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to anyone new here. My name is Anne-Marie. I'm a transformation coach, clinical hypnotherapist, intuitive spiritual guide, speaker and author. I help people reclaim their power to find healing and meaning in their lives after loss, pain or trauma. In particular, I love helping women recover and rebuild themselves after narcissistic or toxic relationships. If you want to work with me, my details are below in the description box. So, have you ever noticed how often people say they want change, but when change actually comes, they panic, run or hide? As humans, we like familiarity. As much as we say we want change, the majority will resist change. And this isn't just psychological, it's biological. Your body is constantly fighting for something called homeostasis. Homeostasis is your body's internal regulating system, your nervous system trying to keep everything stable, predictable and known. But here's the problem. Your body doesn't fight for what's healthy. It doesn't fight for what's spiritually right. It fights for what's familiar. Even if what's familiar is hurting you. Even if what's familiar is slowly destroying you. Think about this. Why do people lose 20 kilos only to gain back 30? It's not just willpower or discipline. It's also the nervous system. The body is used to certain habits, eating patterns, emotional coping mechanisms, stress levels, even identity. If your body has spent 10, 20, 30, 40 years in a particular rhythm, it will try to return to that rhythm again and again because it's known, it's familiar, not because it's good for you. The same things happen with childhood patterns. If you grew up in chaos, your nervous system learned that chaos equals normal. If you grew up needing to earn love, your nervous system learned that love equals effort, anxiety, overgiving, and people-pleasing. If you grew up walking on eggshells, your body learned that hypervigilance equals safety. And then as adults, we say, why do I keep choosing the same kind of partner? Why do I attract those who don't value me and take me for granted? Because your nervous system is choosing what it recognizes. It goes down the path that it knows. This is why so many people struggle to leave relationships that aren't healthy for them. For example, someone is emotionally manipulative or abusive, and everyone turns away and tries to ignore it. But as you awaken and finally see the red flags and say, wait a minute, this is not okay, and suddenly you're the problem. Why? Because you disrupted familiarity. The system, the relationship dynamic, the family structure, the friend group wants homeostasis. It wants to reset to what it knows. And when you say, no, I'm not doing that anymore, I'm not going back to that version of normal, you threaten the system. You expose those who are resisting change. And so you now become the target. Here's the sad part. It's easier to blame the person who stands up and changes than to face the discomfort of transformation. This is why healing can feel so incredibly lonely. When you change, you disrupt every dynamic that was built around the old you, and people are not going to like that. But it doesn't mean that you're wrong, okay? Don't get sucked into going back to your old ways because other people want you to. From a therapeutic perspective, trauma lives in the nervous system. Trauma isn't just the event, it's the imprint the event left on the body. Your nervous system adapts to survive. If you experienced unpredictability, your body learned to stay on high alert. If you experienced emotional neglect, your body learned to disconnect. If you experienced shame, your body learned to shrink. And then as an adult, even when you consciously say, I want something different, your body says, no, this is safer. This is what we know. That's why mindset alone doesn't heal trauma. You can repeat affirmations all day long, but if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, it will override your beliefs. Your body will pull you back into what's familiar. Now let's look at this spiritually. There's a difference between comfort and peace. Comfort is familiar. Peace is aligned. And they are not always the same thing. Familiarity can be bondage, attachment, addiction, disguised as stability, as love even. Spiritually, growth requires death. Not physical death, but the death of identities, of patterns, of roles. The death of the version of you that survived. And here's the really painful truth. The ego hates it. The ego wants predictability. It wants to be right. It wants to stay in control. But your soul wants expansion. And expansion feels like uncertainty. And uncertainty brings fear. Because it feels like letting go of who and what you know. It feels like walking away from dynamics that once defined you. That's why healing can feel like you're losing everything. And in many cases you do. Even when you're actually finding yourself in the process. So why do we go back? Or why do we keep trying to make things work? Why would we rather keep banging our heads against the wall than change? Because, as I said, healing is unfamiliar. Change is unfamiliar. And many will make you feel that healing is actually a selfish thing to do. Because it requires you to leave caustic people and situations behind. And unfamiliar feels unsafe to the nervous system. When you start setting boundaries, your body might panic. When you stop over-functioning, you might feel guilty. When you choose peace, you might feel bored. But that discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. Not at all. It's a sign that you're doing something new. And that's powerful. Now let me tell you what changed everything for me. I stopped trying to transform overnight. I focused on daily, tiny wins. And when I was healing over the last 2 years, I realized something. I didn't need massive breakthroughs. I needed safety in my nervous system. So I focused on baby steps. Getting out of bed when I didn't want to, and maybe putting on some real pants. Going for a short walk. Saying no just once. Breathing through a trigger instead of reacting. Spending 10 minutes in meditation before going to sleep, and not rushing out of bed, but just allowing myself to center and just get up with purpose. Choosing to ignore the smearing campaign against me. Ignoring the judgments and opinions of others and staying silent instead. And ignoring the mental and emotional noise. Just focusing on tiny, tiny wins. Because every small win tells your nervous system we are safe doing this. And over time, your body begins to accept your new beliefs instead of snapping back to the old ones. Healing trauma isn't about forcing yourself into a new identity. It's about teaching your body that the new identity is safe. And if you've lost yourself completely in a toxic relationship, the new identity can very well be you returning to your authentic self. This safety comes from repetition. Gentle, continuous repetition. Consistency over intensity, over a long period of time. Your nervous system changes through regulated breathing, through honouring safe relationships, through predictable routines, movement, gentle movement, self-compassion, and boundaries that are practiced consistently. Not in a dramatic way, but just quietly and consistently, just one baby step after another. Because you're not fighting your body, you're retraining it. And when you choose growth, expect resistance. Not just from yourself, not just from your body, but from others. People who benefited from the old you will feel uncomfortable, and they won't like it. Your own body may crave the old chaos. But remember, craving familiar pain doesn't mean it's right for you. It just means it's known. There's a grieving process in healing. You grieve the fantasy, you grieve the old identity, you grieve the comfort of familiarity. But on the other side of that grief is something so beautiful, so much deeper than comfort, and that's peace. And if you're in a winter season of change right now, if you feel like everything familiar is falling away, if people are blaming you because you refuse to go back to how things were, you're not crazy. You're just disrupting a system. So be prepared for people to try and pull you back into that system that they're not willing to change. Systems resist disruption. So focus on the small, tiny baby wins, not the big transformation. Teach your body safety in tiny ways every single day. Because healing isn't about becoming someone new overnight. It's about slowly convincing your nervous system that unfamiliar peace is safer than familiar pain. And that takes patience and self-compassion and self-awareness. But it is possible. And if you've been here before, you know that I'm all about possibilities. So if this resonated with you, and I want you to pause for a moment, think about one small win that you had today. It doesn't have to be something dramatic or loud or impressive. Just one tiny moment where you chose differently. Maybe you didn't chase or try to fix things. Maybe you took a breath instead of reacting. Maybe you rested instead of overworking. Maybe you said no. That's how healing begins. One tiny baby step, one tiny win at a time. Not in grand gestures. It's just quiet and humble. And if this video spoke to you, comment in the words, unfamiliar peace. Let's normalize choosing unfamiliar peace over familiar pain. And if you're in the season of healing right now, subscribe to this channel. This space is for people who are done surviving and who are ready to regulate, rebuild, and rise. Slowly, safely, and spiritually aligned. Because remember, you're not weak for struggling with change. You are powerful for wanting to have a go at changing, and you are rewiring a nervous system that learned to survive. And that is such amazing, powerful inner work. So until next time, as always, so much love from my heart to you.